Hey everybody, thanks so much for tuning in to Journey at Home. Love having you with us. We have a special episode for you today because I have asked my friend and one of the founders of Journey, Jared Martin, to share a special message with us about the impact that we can make when we invest our lives in others. But before he does that, I want to pause to acknowledge the tragedy that we experienced here in our local communities this past week. Jody Cash served our communities as a Kentucky State Trooper and most recently as Chief Deputy with the Cowway County Sheriff's Department. And he lost his life this past week, as I'm sure many of you know, in the line of duty. All of us who knew Jody were better for it. It was hard to catch that guy without a smile on his face. It was like he just had a gift for encouraging, you know. And then in his line of work, and I think this is pretty special, he just had this unique and this powerful way of combining justice with compassion. He did it so well. So we are all heartbroken at his passing, and we are grateful for all the sacrifices that he made so our community could be a better place. And I just wanted to say before we jumped into today to all of you in the law enforcement family, including all of your families, we are grateful for you. We're thinking about you. And specifically to Jody's family, you are in our prayers. You know, your legacy, it's defined by what current and future generations do because of you. And Jody, well, he leaves an extraordinary legacy for which we are all better.
Who are the people who got you to where you are today? You know the ones. The teacher who never gave up on you when things were looking rough. The coach who saw things in you that you never would have seen in yourself if they hadn't pointed them out. The grandparent who encouraged you and cheered for you and stood up for you and stood behind you, never wanting the credit or anything from you. They just wanted the best for you. Most of you have a few of those people you could name right now. Maybe some of those people are still making an impact on you today. So here's the bigger question. Will their investment in you end with you? I'm sure you're grateful for how they've inspired you or helped you, but is that it? And once you've gotten what you need, will you be all they got out of their investment? I'm not saying you're not enough. I just don't think their investment needs to stop there. What if we could create a continuous investment strategy that would make sure that the investment those people made in your life keeps getting passed on to the next generation? I think it's possible and necessary. It's graduation time around here. I'm watching students graduate college, graduate high school. It makes me think about all that has been invested in these students to get them to this point. Parents have spent thousands upon thousands of dollars, if not millions, to prepare their child for adulthood. And think of all the community that has invested in these students. Education, sports leagues, clubs, scouts, summer programs. So much has been invested, yet this is the most uncertain time for these students. Now, if you're a student watching and you're in the middle of all this and you're probably excited about getting out there, seeing what you can do, experiencing the freedom of adulthood, seeing what you're made of. However, you're still not sure you want to let go of those connections. You don't want to lose the people who've already made such an impact on you because you've seen the horror stories. Or you may have even watched a friend or a family member make this transition into adulthood and really make some bad decisions. I mean, you've seen regret and pain and chaos that was the result, and you're hoping to avoid all that. But those of you who are adults watching, you may remember all of that, the excitement, the freedom. You may also carry some of those big regrets even to this day. And this is also right about the time in your life when you disengaged from your faith, stopped building the relationships at church that encourage you to grow, stopped asking God to be a part of your decision making. And here's what's so interesting to me. At the times in our lives when you're going through the biggest transitions, when everything seems to be changing, when we're approaching decisions and situations that we've never had to face before, we tend to disconnect from the people that have gotten us to this point and try to do it all on our own. Look, I'm not saying you don't need to make your own decisions or that you need to be dependent on someone else. But I think our American individualistic mindset has given us an unhealthy view of how this transition from adolescence into adulthood should happen. And I think it affects how we as adults think about our own growth and our investment in the next generation. When we become adults, we still need people to invest in us. We need encouragement. We need wisdom from others. We need reminders to be humble. At least I do. And we need some people who are helping us continue to grow into the kind of people we want to be. And for those of you in the beginning of your adult life, you feel this pressure just to own it all and take it all on and to be your own man or be your own woman. I think there's a better way to make this transition. And honestly, a better way to navigate all the transitions of life and adulthood. I think the key is in continuous investment, a never-ending process of building the kinds of relationships in our lives throughout our adulthood that inspires us and moves us toward being the kind of person God created us to be. We've all experienced how amazing it is to have people investing in our growth, but that doesn't have to stop just because we grow up. And maybe you've never really considered this before, but a big piece of continuous investment strategy is taking the time and energy to do for others what has been done for you. And that's why I love the example of this that we get to read about in the letters Paul wrote to his protege, Timothy. Timothy was a young leader of the church located in Ephesus. And it's interesting when you read the 2 letters Paul wrote to Timothy, because you can tell that Timothy was struggling with many of the same things we all struggle with. Timothy wasn't sure he could handle all the stuff going on. He was overwhelmed by the opposition coming from some other groups of people. He was uncertain about his decision making. He was unsure about how best to use his time and energy to make the biggest impact. But he had someone who had invested in him. And even better, he had someone who was continually investing in him. Paul sent 2 letters that we know of. He sent other people to come and help Timothy, and when he could, he made visits himself to stay with him and be with him. Just think about these words that Paul wrote in the letter that we call 1 Timothy. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young. Paul was dedicated to making sure Timothy knew that while he was young, that did not exempt him from doing big things and important things. Paul didn't want Timothy thinking that his youth was some sort of an excuse. You can lead, Timothy. And then Paul writes this, set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, in purity. Whoa, Paul, that's a whole lot of setting an example. I mean, me set an example? Here's what I love about this. Paul doesn't hold back on the expectations for Timothy. He was letting him know that he had a real responsibility here. Welcome to adulthood. Welcome to leadership, Timothy. Your life is an example to other people. How you speak and live and love will influence other people. You see that? Paul's like, you've been invested in, Timothy, and I'm not going to stop investing in you, but you've got to invest your life in other people. What's gotten you to this point is worth passing on to others. See, it's easy to get self-absorbed, isn't it? You've got real adult responsibilities. You've got to pay taxes, get the car fixed, patch the drywall, remember to set out the trash can each Thursday. You're trying to make a name for yourself at work. You're trying to build a marriage and a family. You want to move to a new city to have a new life, and there's a lot of details you've got to manage. You've got bills to pay. And Paul, you're asking me to invest in other people? It's so tempting to believe that what others invested in us is just about our own benefit. It's easy to think that what was given to us is ours to keep. But that's not the principle that Paul teaches Timothy at all. Because Paul has learned this himself. Paul knows that to grow the investments others have made in you, you must invest in others. It's continuous investment. Research tells us that 1 in 7 high school seniors feel prepared for their next step after high school. Research also tells us that 40 to 50% of high school seniors will disengage from church and their faith in the first year after graduation. But you want to know one of the biggest reasons the other 50 to 60% stay engaged in their faith? Continuous investment. From mentoring relationships as they navigate their first years of adulthood. If you're part of our church, this is why we work so hard to produce amazing environments for kids and students of all ages. Those environments are designed to allow those kinds of mentoring relationships to form all the way through childhood and adolescence. And that's why we need some of you. If you're a part of our church, we need you to invest in the next generation. We need people to spend an hour a week with toddlers so they have a great first impression of God by the way you love and care for them. We need people to talk and play with elementary kids so they know that Jesus is both personal and practical to their lives. We need people to encourage and guide middle schoolers to develop a faith of their own. And we need people to mentor high school students so that they love God, live differently, and begin to lead the way, just like Paul wrote to Timothy. The power of continuous investment is exponential, and you could be one of the people that the next generation remembers 20 years from now. Not because you did anything amazing, you just made a continuous investment in small amounts of time over a long period of time that grew into an exponential return in their life and faith. Now, if you've been watching online for a while, this may be a great reason for you to show up on a Sunday. You need some people to invest in you. You've had that before, but you've been missing that. You could use some relationships that are helping you navigate life. And like Paul told Timothy, you also need to invest in some other people. You may not have any idea what that would look like, but you know the impact of the investments other people have made in you, and you know that you wouldn't be where you are today without those people and what they deposited into your life. We'd love to help you find both of those things, a continuous investment strategy where you have people building into your life and where you are building into others. I want to leave you with this. You may be thinking right now that you've messed up too much to invest in others. You're thinking about the people who invested in you and how they might have wasted their time with you. You ignored the good advice, you went the wrong way, you really did some things that you don't really like thinking about. And you feel unworthy to be part of any sort of continuous investment strategy. You don't think you deserve any more investment, and you sure can't see how you have anything worth giving to anybody else. If that's you, I've got some good news. In that same letter I read from earlier, Paul writes this line to Timothy. That is why we labor and strive, because we have put our hope in the living God, who is the Savior of all people. God isn't done investing in you. He's not done by a long shot. He's continually investing in you. He is for you, and we're for you too. The question is, who are you investing in, and who are you for? I want you to find a few people who are better off because they know you.